Welcome to the Catalyst Life Coaching Podcast with John Kim and Noelle Cordeaux. If you're inspired to begin your own life coaching practice or just want to learn a little bit more about what it's all about, visit JRNI.co. That's JRNI.co for more information. Your adventure awaits.
Hey guys, on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the freedom of being a coach. Noelle, this resonates with me more than anything else.
I agree, and I have been so excited to have this conversation.
Yes. First, let me ask you, how was Stratton? How was...
It
Vermont?
was awesome. It was awesome, which is the perfect lead in to this conversation. So for those of you guys listening at home, I took a bunch of 10 of our coaches to a Wanderlust festival in Stratton, Vermont, and we provided live coaching at a wellness festival for 4 days and stayed in beautiful houses in the middle of the wilderness on either sides of the mountain and hung out with each other and cooked. And Charlene did a shamanistic fire ceremony for us one night.
Nice.
And we coached over 100 people, and everybody got business contacts and had the best time.
Wow. Just like last year.
Just like last year. But the weather was better than last year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I always feel like if you put people in our community who have already formed relationships online, their stories, their diversity, and then you mix that up in like a cool location that involves nature, adventure, all of that stuff. It's just a recipe for magic, no matter what.
I completely agree. And I thought that a fun way that we could attack our topic today is for both of us to look at everything that we did in the last week to mirror for each other, what coaching looks like in real life and the freedom that we both experience.
Yes, for sure. So freedom is actually the single most powerful reason why I kind of hopped the fence, or I went from therapist to a coach. I went from calling myself a therapist to a coach with a clinical background. And that's because of the freedom that coaching gives you. So unlike therapy, because there isn't an official board with coaching, you can help people in a way that's honest to you. So, that was the fire that made me create my practice. I mean, do everything I did, but also do everything I'm doing now today. And I continue to do so because it's in that freedom where we find play.
Incredible. And so that's a really interesting perspective to take it. So I got into coaching because I fell in love with the science of applied positive psychology. But beyond that, the real reason that I went after it as hard as I did was the lifestyle, that I recognize that I am a nomadic hippie. And if I am not giving myself the freedom to be a human tumbleweed, I get pretty stifled and unhappy. And so I knew that I would have to have a job that I could travel with and do what I need to do from wherever I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the idea of going into an office and just doing session after session after session like that, to me, that would be torture. It goes against everything that I am in my spirit.
Do you remember the conversation that we had in the hog shed a couple of years ago?
Yes.
I asked John what he wanted to be doing 5 years from now, whether he wanted to be behind a computer or playing in a field with a bunch of our friends. And you said...
Both? No?
But both, yeah, and that's pretty much what we've manifested today. And I reflect on that so much, especially during times when I am literally hanging out in a field with a bunch of awesome people, and I'm like, holy shit, like it's happening.
It reminds me of school where you have to sit in a classroom. You have to just to learn, right? We teach and we do other things, meetings and all that, and then when the bell rings, then you go do recess and you go out and play. And so I think that this journey is kind of like that. We have the classroom and then we also have the play.
Yes.
Okay,
All
so
right.
so for the last week,
So
how has freedom been threaded into my life as a coach? So if you don't know, for those of you who are listening, I do phone sessions. I used to do online sessions, but I do phone sessions. But most of my sessions are actually at coffee shops, and the reason for that is it gives me, like I was just talking about recess, it gives me an opportunity to get out of the house, to get on my motorcycle, to engage with other people. I actually work the best when I'm around people. I'm not someone who can like lock himself in a room and just try to write. That doesn't work for me. So I kill two birds, you know. I find joy, and then when I find joy, I'm actually a better coach. So that's one way I find freedom is through just exploring the town and meeting people in coffee shops, while I do sessions throughout the week.
that's awesome. So
Mhm.
you were doing sessions outdoors in LA in the summertime, connecting with cool people all over the city.
Yeah, and I don't do this as much anymore, but I used to take walks with people because there's a walk here. I mean, there's a walk in Silver Lake that's exactly 50 minutes if you just walk at a nice pace, and I used to do that, and then I used to actually work out with my clients, and I know that's very controversial. But I would also follow it up with a session, so it's not like just working out and leaving. It would be processing what that was like, and I really believe that you could tell a lot about someone, by how they work out, what they like, what they don't like in the gym, all of that stuff. So it was just a cool way again to be free in doing it, helping people in the way that you wanted to.
Yes. And so I want to draw attention to some science behind what you were doing. So when you get out of the house, when you invite people to join you in different environments, whether it's a coffee shop or a gym, or you're walking around a path in Silver Lake, you are giving your brain new fertile landscape to push out beyond the old neural pathways
Mm,
and have neurons that have never met each other before start to bump into each other. And so you're literally creating the environmental context for someone to experience a new way of thinking and being at
right.
the same time, which cements neuroplasticity.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you get to show us what's happening. As far as science, that's very interesting.
Yeah. So you know what else we did last Tuesday was this podcast,
Yes.
which is creating content, which
Yeah.
is a huge part of coaching. And I think what a lot of folks don't realize is that the act of creating content, whether it's a podcast or a blog post or a social media shout out, you are planting seeds, putting your message out into the world. And it's actually a really important part of coaching, because how will people become inspired by you and know what you stand for and know who you are if they have no way to connect with you?
Yes, and you are also sharing your story. And as you share your story, um, I personally think it's therapeutic for you, because by sharing your story, you're also owning it. You're also saying that this is my story, this is what I've been through, and then of course people can relate to it, and then it encourages other people to share. And so yeah, I think the internet and social media and creating content, at least for me, has been, I mean, it's changed my life. It's given me a life, actually. It's given me a sense of purpose.
And that's how we started. You know, that's how our whole organization started. That's how our partnership started, was when you invited other coaches to join you in creating content under the Angry Therapist umbrella.
Yeah, I needed help.
So so that you well, you needed help, but you also created connection to others.
Yes, and here's the thing: I didn't know it wasn't a master plan. I was just doing what I was doing. But now, and looking back, and especially how big Journey Coaching is, and how it's become so much bigger than all of us. I see the value in that. I see the value in all the relationships that are forming, and I just kind of look back and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there is a direct link scientifically between investment in positive social relationships and well-being.
Mm.
And when we're taking that concept that the more that you invest in positive social relationships, the greater your well-being will become. It becomes amplified.
Mm-hmm.
When we're producing our podcast, we don't only have a relationship with each other, but we have a relationship with our listener. We are positively investing in a social relationship with our listener. We are showing
Right.
ourselves, we're using psychoeducation, and the ripples go on and on and on.
Yeah. So under freedom, I mentioned doing sessions in coffee shops. Noelle just mentioned coming from Vermont Stratton and doing the workshop there, or I don't know if you want to call it a workshop or a festival, but you know, um, having her experience the fun, the work, all of that. So that's complete freedom. What else is freedom under life coaching? Would you say?
So yeah, I wanted to kind of pull the wool back a little bit. So Wednesday I drove to Vermont,
Hmm.
and it's absolutely beautiful
Yeah.
there. So we're kind of out on the edge of the world. We're out in nature. So as a coach, having the freedom to interact with nature as much or as little as you choose, to me, is an incredible benefit, and therein lies a lot of freedom.
Hmm. What
So
about?
that's
Sorry, go ahead.
that's one aspect of it. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
What about the freedom of creating different products as a coach? So, as a therapist back in the day, it was basically you got on insurance boards and you did one-on-one sessions or you ran groups, and that was kind of it. That was the product, or the two or three products you created. As a life coach, especially today with the internet, there is tremendous freedom in how you help people. So, if you look at my story, I've done everything from partnering with companies like Airbnb to run little experiences to obviously writing books. That's a way of helping people. Sessions, online sessions, phone sessions, like all that stuff. Running retreats, right? Audio courses. Now I'm obsessed with texting. So, and it's going to just continue to grow, and there's going to be, I think, new and different ways that we decide to help people using all the technologies that are evolving. And I think there's so much freedom in that. And the thing is that in the clinical world, you can't do that stuff, or it's very limited.
It is very limited.
Yeah.
So you have freedom with multiple revenue streams.
Yes, and
And
that's the American dream.
it is. It is. So on the way up to Vermont, and I haven't even told you this yet in person, so get excited. I got confirmation that one of the really big name, big deal partnerships that I was fishing for wants to play in the sandbox with us and
Oh,
wants.
awesome.
Right. And so there's that too. There's freedom in the endless nature of how far you can go in this field.
Yes, yes. I mean, the freedom to not only build a practice, but I mean, just you and I, the freedom to build a company. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different freedom.
And believe me, that is the last thing I thought was going to happen.
Right, right, right.
I'm just as surprised as everybody else that here we sit,
And we're also not saying it's easy. We're just saying that there's freedom there.
Oh, it's not easy.
No,
There,
no, no.
it's more blood, sweat, and tears that
Right.
you will ever spill, but you do it for the freedom.
Yeah, and there's so many coaches out there who are doing such amazing things. I mean, not only companies, but they're building multiple companies. There's apps, and it's just on and on. And I think that, sometimes as a coach, if you're starting, you could look at that and you could be overwhelmed, or you could look at that and being like, oh, wait a minute, if they can do it, that's inspiring. That means there's no ceiling on this career. That means that I could do so many different things, and probably a lot of things I'm not even thinking about now. And to me, that's super exciting.
It is super exciting. And in all of these experiences, there are deep reservoirs of connection, which you can't
Yes.
discount because coaching is a joyful field and wellness is a joyful marketplace. So the experiences themselves tend to be positive.
Yes. One of the things that I also appreciate about Journey Coaching, obviously Noelle, the team, is that we encourage our coaches to be free. to like go out and play, you know. I think because I mean I guess because I'm coming from a world where there's a lot of lines, there's a lot of shoulds, and in therapy school they actually don't promote freedom. They actually go the other way. You know, they actually want you to um, they draw boundaries around what you should do and you shouldn't do, and also how you should do something and what you should look like. The beauty in coaching, and especially with our platform, is we try to find what makes you feel alive and free, and then we press the gas pedal and encourage that.
In Stratton alone, we had one coach who was a traveling bartender. We had one coach who was a shaman,
Mm-hmm.
one coach who is a Reiki healer,
Right.
one coach that does female empowerment, one coach that does self-love, and the list goes on. And everyone was celebrated in their different modalities and was seen.
So
And
that's exactly what
I,
I'm talking about. That's such a great example.
yes, that they were celebrated in their modalities and seen. And that's where confidence comes from.
Yeah, and also learning, and also the accepting how different we are, and seeing that not as a bad thing, but beautiful. You know, all of that. So
And so I made a list of my week. So on, I think it was either Friday or Saturday night, I drank too much wine on an empty stomach because we had a long day. And then
hmm
we started FaceTiming any catalyst that would answer the
oh,
phone.
that's right. I think one of them was me.
It was.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you to be on the receiving end of the crazy?
I loved it. I think on just on a surface level, I've never talked to. So she FaceTime a couple catalysts. I think one was on a computer. A guy named Jamie, who I stayed with
Mhm.
at the book tour, great guy. And so I was actually seeing him on on another device. So that's never happened. So her FaceTiming me, and then me seeing Jamie on another device it was very Twilight Zone-ish.
And you
Um,
were with MC,
and then I was with MC because we went to
who
this.
teaches in our intensive.
Yeah, and we went to this jazz festival, and I don't, there was something really cool about, even though we were, miles away, being connected not only through these devices, and even if it was like for a moment, and we couldn't even hear each other, there was something really cool about the energy of like holding hand. It reminded me of the kids that hold the cans to the ears and with the string.
Hmm.
I just felt like in that moment, because of the history and the stories and how deep they go, um, I tapped into like all being connected, all holding hands, all holding that can with that string attached.
Yes, and that connection cannot be underestimated for the freedom that it gives and the importance of how it changes people's lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it exists uniquely within our field.
Well, uniquely within our field, but within our company, one of the things that I think is so beautiful and so valuable is that that's one of our strengths. The fact that we create a space and give people a journey where it's like wearing letters on your chest. It's like I
Mhm.
belong to this organization and it means something to me. So it's not just a school or an intensive where you learn, but it's like um, it becomes a society, a club, a
It's a family.
family. Yeah,
It's
for sure.
to me, it's a big family, and that's the way it feels. It's incredible that all these strangers could come together from all over the country, literally, and stay in Airbnbs together, and it felt like we've known each other our whole lives.
Yes, yes. And as we end, I just want to mention the other side of freedom. Now, with freedom, any freedom is going to come responsibility. So I think also,
Yes.
just because you're a coach, and you do have the freedom, especially with social media and the power of your phone today, to create any product you want, do whatever you want, all of that. That's amazing, and you can be an artist and all that. But I do think there's a responsibility in making sure that your intentions are in the right place, and you're actually helping people, and you have to decide what that is, though, right? But I do think there is a responsibility that you have with the freedom that you have.
And there's a responsibility to deliver. As magical as it sounds that I was up in Vermont doing all this cool stuff, I drove for 6 hours straight, got out of the car, set up a booth on
Right.
Sunday.
Right.
As we were shutting down the festival, I taught 2 classes from inside the ski lodge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I came home, took yesterday off, and then this morning I negotiated 2 contracts, one for the business and one is a coaching contract for an outside firm that I work with.
Awesome.
And the beat goes on, right?
Yeah.
So I had a session. I had a one-on-one session as well.
Yes. So the responsibility to show up, the responsibility to make sure that your intentions are in the right place, and yeah, your own guidelines, your own structure, your own policy, all of that.
Freedom in coaching, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It's all the things.
It's all the things. Yeah. And if you're new and you're curious about coaching, come check us out. You can have conversations with us and ask us anything you want. And I would swim toward what feels free and what makes you feel alive.
Yes. Always. Notice what is life-giving.
Yeah, that's a life rule in general.
It
All right.
is.
Thanks, Noelle.
Take care, John.
All right, be well.